Hudson Sharp, Aubrey Kraft, Cooper Rose Pearson, and Jessica Stark. Division champion banners this morning for the swine. The champion banners are sponsored by Broughton Show Pigs from Townsend, Montana. The reserve champion banners are sponsored by Big Sky Show Pigs, Plentywood, Montana. Next Level Images from Mount Pleasant, Texas are the exclusive photographers for the 2023 NILE Stock Show. All champion and reserve champion breed champions are required to have their backdrop photos taken. Everyone is welcome and encouraged to have their photos taken at the backdrop. All photos, ring and backdrop, will be available to view in the northeast corner of the Expo Center. Also this morning, you can watch all the shows live at showbarnflix.com or on the Showbarn Flix Facebook page. Sorry, I was informed that the reserve champion division banners from Big Sky Show Pigs, they're from Bainville, Montana. Today's judge is Mr. Glenn Martin from Mason, Texas. Glenn grew up in Mason, Texas, where his family roots date back to the 1860s. He attended Texas A&M University and was an accomplished collegiate meats and livestock evaluator. Glenn is married to Rayanne, and they've raised 4 daughters through the ranching lifestyle. The Martin family raises competitive show goats, cattle, and Dorper sheep, and his girls have won Grand or Reserve Grand at more than 60 major livestock shows nationwide. Glenn has evaluated both breeding and market shows in 25 states, including numerous state fairs and various shows at Fort Worth, Houston, Louisville, and the American Royal. He spends countless hours helping youth excel in the livestock world through clinics, seminars, and his Bracing for Success camps. Glenn is always into promoting agriculture and educating others about the animal industry. Let's put our hands together and welcome Mr. Glenn Martin this morning. Class 2, you can start loading the holding pens, please. Hagen Tippett, Courtney Andrus, Bella Herrera, Courtney Andrus, Peyton Ramza, Coys Reedy, Bella Herrera, Kaylee Eider, Landon Thomas, Jaron Knopp, Hudson Schmidt, and Rion Allred.
Well, a nice first class to start off with here, evaluating your market hogs today. Young ladies, half-belted gilt here leads off our class, and one I think put the most good things together from flexibility from the side and joint angles with balance and proportion. And the ability to just get out and go and catch another gear. I think that one is a little more unique in terms of look from the side, in terms of density of bone work, in terms of correctness on front feet and pasterns. That one is as wide as we can make them going away. There's no doubt about it, but she doesn't bow and she's still square. She still reaches and flexes the way she needs to. Nice one there to land on at the start. One that comes to us a little longer bodied. One that's a little longer fronted and slicker jawed there is a young man's blue gilt. It's going to be 2 in class. I like that one just from a proportion standpoint from the side. Really good in her underline, extra long spine, and still holds her top line together. I want that thing to be stronger up front. I want her to raise her up and square her up in her knee just a bit. I want her to push in terms of rib cage. When you get right over the top of her, I want her more cylindrical in terms of her body shape. I want her denser in terms of her bone work comparative to our class winner. But a nice pair there that leads off in our class. Congratulations to those two. Young man comes 3 with one that's awful nice looking, tall-shouldered, good built in terms of look and balance and proportion. The longer we get out, and I'm not one of these folks, don't kid yourself. I hate it when judges drive them till they collapse and then say they weren't any good. I think that's ignorant. But this one, just in the little time we've driven her, you can see she's up in her blade. She's a little more rigid in how she handles her hock and her back leg. Love the shape in this one. Love the look from the side. Just want her to go a bit better. She needs to limber up, needs to reach, needs to move just a bit better. And if we can do that, that one's our winner. One that comes next in class, really wide, opened up, fresh backed, one that's got the right kind of center in him. Good in terms of his jawline, stout. Gets a little shorter hip. Gets a little more rigid in terms of how he handles his rear too. Get right in behind him, guys. We've got to pull that one back inside, make him more secure in his hock. We can do that. We can move that one up as well. Nice job there with your presentation and your showmanship. We bring out a furry one next, the young man's double whipping. One that maybe for me looks a little bit mature. Gets a little ouchy up front. Folks, we need to make that one more up in terms of his toe. Need to make him reach and go a bit better off both ends. Once again, if we can correct that in that front end and make him just reach and grab and go and feel more comfortable out here in the ring, that one's got the right kind of body shape, the right kind of back shape, the right kind of pin set and upper hip to move up in class. Bring out our last one that we kept here in the ring, and young lady did a really good job, and I wasn't testing you just to see if you could drive her. I just wanted to see the rest of them first. Gilt here just gets a little frail in terms of how she's assembled. Gets a little in and twisty at her knee and front pastern. Gets more rigid, a little wide when she goes away from us. Need to clean her hocks up. Love the shape, love the center, love the density. Just not good enough skeletally. Put your hands together for all those kids in class 1.
All right. Thank you, Glenn. Results of class number 1. In first place, Heidi Hutchison. Second, Hudson Sharp. Third, Paul Shaner. Fourth, Aubrey Kraft. And in fifth place, Avery Deeds. We'll now have class 2 of the lightweights. After this class, we will select a champion and reserve champion lightweight. We will bring back first and seconds in every class this morning. We'd like to welcome you to the 56th Annual NILE Stock Show, and we welcome you to the Montana Ford Show Ring. Who wouldn't want more power to tow and haul on the job? The 2022 Ford Super Duty features strong performance with a powerful lineup of available engines. There's the available 6.7-liter Power Stroke V8 turbo diesel, which features a 1,050 pound-foot of torque, as well as the available 7.3-liter gas V8, which features the best gas power ratings in its class. Don't settle for the second best when you can own a Ford, the best-selling truck in America for over 44 years. Your local Ford dealer has a Super Duty for you. Go see for yourself. My friend Steve McEwen and Stock Show Secrets would like to wish every exhibitor the best of luck. Stock Show Secret brand supplements have innovated the livestock show industry. Like their competitors, Stock Show Secrets offers performance-based products to make your animals do and look better. But Stock Show Secrets also offers products for a safer show experience, a more rewarding show experience. They believe that no matter how good an animal is, it won't place very well if they cannot get shown well. That is what makes Stock Show Secrets different. Check them out online, on Facebook or Instagram at stockshowsecrets.com. We'll need first and second from class number 1 for our lightweight champion division. We'll need Heidi Hutchison and Hudson Sharp to the holding pins, please.
This one isn't perfect in terms of his upper hip. The young man's driving. We can make that one a little leveler hipped, make him a little longer hipped, blend him just a notch smoother from his loin edge back into his hip. But outside of that, that one runs away with the class. In terms of build, in terms of flexibility, density, show ring presence, shape up high, I like that one quite a bit. For me, we just need to change his upper hip structure. You fix that, that one could be big time. Appreciate that young man's effort to get that one driven. I think that's a logical place to sit here in one. Young lady comes second in class, one that you really have to appreciate for center body, for mass, for natural width. Gets a little frail at the surface, gets a little flat up front, still reaches and goes pretty well if you watch just in terms of movement of hock from the angle I sit here at the side. That one's got lots of good things working for him. We got to stouten him at the surface. We got to lift him up in terms of his pastern, make him just catch another gear in terms of his reach and go comparative to our class winner. The belted gilt the young man brings out in 3 is the one that can go really good from the side. One for me that gets a little narrow, gets a little flat, gets a little frail comparatively. I like her upper hip better than I do even our class winner, and I think she's got a class advantage there in terms of upper hip structure. I think young man does a really nice job getting her driven. She gets frail at the surface, twists in. I want to stouten her up in terms of her bone work comparatively, but that is a nice one. You do a good job showing, son. We bring out that blue mass bearer next, and one that I like the front 3/4 of quite a bit. Love him coming to me, big and opened up and square, tall-shouldered, kind that runs uphill. Monster back shape in this one, the biggest backed one that I've seen so far this morning. Once again, we shorten our hip up. We just got to pull that thing back and make him longer hipped. If we can, then he's going to move just a bit better off his rear too. He wants to plant and swivel, steps just to the side. I want to make that thing reach and go. Love the front 3/4, just have to change that one's hip structure. Nice job of showing as well. Bring out that next one, that's a loudmouth, and I thought she was going to get this thing to be quiet when she came back out. And he's over there because he does have a lot of quality in terms of width and power. That thing is massed up. Now, I like the shape. I like the natural width of that one underneath. Too flat on both ends. Doesn't move his feet and legs forward to rear quite good enough for me. Just got to make him go a little bit better. Bring out one next. It's bigger boned, one that got some feature, one that I appreciate coming right to me and then reading back shape into. Thing just steps out and swivels too much. Does it on both ends. Gets too flat up front for me. Need to strengthen that one up. Gets a little more mature in his crest and his presence as well. Good job there to all these kids. Put your hands together on a nice class.
Thank you, Glenn. Results of class number 2: in first place, Hagen Tippett. Second, Coys Reedy. Third, Landon Thomas. Fourth, Bella Herrera. And in 5th place, Bella Herrera. We'll now select our champion and reserve champion lightweight.
We'll bring the class winners back out here. Talk to half-belted gilt the young lady has. Really dense, wide, square, good presence from the side. One for me that's probably a little lower just in terms of the point of her shoulder. Like to elevate her, like to lengthen her and extend her out. And I told you, we pushed the limits. She's still square enough for me going away, but push the limits. Just talk to young man's. Like to pull that one's tail back, flatten his hip, and just extend him out of his hip. But in terms of presence, in terms of elevation, flexibility, and back squareness, that one suits me the best. Young man, you'll have our division champion. Bring the second out of that class and just talk to young ladies bearer. It's a little smaller footed, a little flatter up front, one that I really appreciate for natural width, just not as dense as the gilt that's here in the ring. That gilt's going to be our reserve out of this division.
Our champion out of the lightweight division goes to Hagen Tippett from Colton, Washington. Reserve goes to Heidi Hutchison from Belgrade, Montana. We'll now invite Class 3 to the holding pens, please. Holden Salvar, Layla Deeds, Sophia Zentner, Amber Choma, Grady Hiller, Tyler Dixon, Kendall Vandevort, Paul Shaner, Elizabeth Quick, Riley Gregg, Annette Drake, and Parker McKinney. We want to say thanks to Ag West Credit Services and all the folks with Ag West Credit for their support of NILE and the Junior Fed Youth, sponsor of the prizes today for our show. At Town and Country Supply, it's our job to help you find the right feed for your animals. We offer feed with quality, guaranteed ingredients made to develop your cows, calves, heifers, steers, and bulls. Supplements are important for your cattle, and so is finding the right one for your operation. Whether you need QLF liquid feed, Smart Lick tubs, or pelleted complete feeds, our team of experts can advise you on the program that's right for your livestock. Stop in and see us here at the NILE, and come and visit us after the show at our stores in Bridger, Hardin, and Laurel, or contact one of our salesmen in your area. We can start loading Class 4. Dally Joe Pearson, Ella Hiller, Kendall Tetrick, Landon Thomas, Spencer Broughton, Davy Frost, Catherine Albright, Cheyenne Shepard, Grace Sedlacek, and Elizabeth Quick.
Well, wasn't being rude or trying to holler at you or upset anybody around the ring, but you're showing in a six-head show, literally, right now. And sitting down on a hog and cooling them down like you hadn't been already parked for 10 minutes while I was looking at the rest of the class doesn't make a lot of sense to me as a show parent, as an instructor, as an advisor, as somebody that's wanting you to get the job done. Frank, I mean, I already told you I don't drive them just for the sake of driving them till one of them falls apart, because I think that's what people that don't know like to do. And so I'm not going to do that to you. I don't want your hog to have to drive any longer than your hog has to drive. So when you get out, and I mean, if there'd have been 35 of them coming out of gates, that'd have been different. You know, if you got thrown in a dead sea, hey, you better rest that thing for 15 or 20 minutes till the judge comes out and tries to select one. But as a parent, I want you to understand what I was wanting you to do and hoping you would do, so that you could get the most out of your hog when it was time to get the most out of them. So that being said, that's why I corrected you there at that point in time. We get to this top pair here, and I think these are the two that have the best running gear. These are the two that come the squarest at both ends of their skeleton. A little different in type and kind. Opt to use the one that comes stouter jawed, denser in her bone work, bigger in her forearm, cagier, one that's just got a little more to her, and I think actually sets and plants and goes just a bit better off her rear too. And I like that. Now, I'd like to clean her up right at the backside crest of her neck. I'd like to strengthen her just in her front pastern ever so slightly, but an awful nice one there. Big ring presence and proportion, lots of flexibility. Love the forearm in that one, love the jaw. I think the jaw and forehead in this one sets it apart. The strength on her back toes sets her apart from the 1 and 2. This 1 and 2 is awful good, and there's a lot of people that take this hog and they say, hey, you got to be first or third. And I'll tell you this, if you ever hear a judge say that, they never put that one first. Okay, that's always their crutch, to put the unique one third. Well, I don't think this thing goes third. Yeah, he looks different than the ones on either side of him, but I think he deserves to be 2, and I tell you why. Because he's square, he's mobile, he's big in his skeleton. He's the one that's got the right kind of elevation in terms of the height of shoulder that we really need to see in this livestock to make them unique in terms of their presence. Gets a little flatter in terms of his pasterns, not as dense in his bone work, a little flatter forehead, a little skinnier jawed. Like to stouten that one up just a bit. If we can stouten them up in terms of feature, I flop that pair. But good pair there, high quality, different kinds. Appreciate both of them. Thank you. Good job of getting that one presented. We come to our calico, and that's the one that looks more like our class winner. If you just want to look at him from the side, shorter back, little denser in terms of his proportions, but let's face it, that thing is short from his blade forward to his jawline. We've got to make that one longer neck. That one's got to come to us longer hip. If we want that one to get in that pair, we got to make him a little more mobile. Very shapely, very dense. Got to make him more mobile. Need to be nicer looking up front. Bring that next one out. That's one that gets out and is stout. Again, a little shorter neck version, a little crestier, a little more mature. Young lady gets everything out of this one that she can possibly get. That one tests the surface in terms of squareness going away, in terms of dimension. She just wants to step out and get out. She wants to pull in at her toe just a bit. Love the back shape. Great job of presentation. I tell you this, that showmanship's going to be something today. But awful good showman out here in the ring. Brings us one there that just gets a little far out for me. A young lady comes next, has a big extended one that I really like from the side. Get on either end. I want that one to flex and go. You can see she's a little timid up front. She steps out of her skeleton and back. Big shape, just not enough cage, not enough freshness of top, not enough freshness of center comparative to those. Not quite limber enough in terms of her skeleton. Round out our class with one I stuck in there late. I like the natural width and spread of this one. I like the shape up high. I think that one's got a lot of good just in terms of natural width. You get on either end of the skeleton, for me, wants to duck and round in his hip. He's shorter hipped. He gets outside just a bit, a little shorter and fatter in terms of his neck. Want to change him in the way he swivels and twists in his hock. Want to see less lateral deviation, more forward range of motion. Let's put our hands together for those kids on a very nice class.
Thank you, Glenn. Results of class number 3. In first place, Riley Gregg. Second, Kendall Vandevort. Third, Holden Salivar. Fourth, Sophia Zentner. And in fifth place, Amber Choma. Supporting sponsors of the NILE Stock Show this year include Select Sires, offering an expanded sire lineup that includes more elite bulls from respected programs. Select Sires, Calving Ease, Carcass and Cows. Stop by and see Jay Nansel at their booth in the trade show or visit with your local Select Sire rep. Pine Coulee Bulls, bred and tested for convenience, efficiency, and profit traits. Pine Coulee Bulls sale will be March 13th, 2024 at the Wagon Box Ranch, Hardin, Montana. This year selling 170 yearling bulls thanks to Jim Stamfel and John Carroll. Western Ag Reporter, serving the ag industry since 1940. Proud to be instrumental in starting the NILE with founder Pat Goggins holding the #1 charter. Stop by their booth, sign up for your subscription.
density and stoutness sorts the pair here in class. And just to characterize the class, not really a heater in here in my opinion. Just we've got parts and pieces I'd love to put together. I like this one going from the side really well. I like his tall height, the shoulder, his extension up front, like his proportion from the side. He's a lot denser in terms of bone work, bigger footed and stouter than the one that's going to be two. I just want to change him a bit in the bottom seat of his britches and just take a little puffiness out of his hock there when I get right in behind him. Put a nice one there, and I think proportional, more bear a show ring presence and look to lead off there. Young man does a great job also with the one that comes two. One for me that I like from the side just in terms of balance and body and type. He gets a little lower set in his neck and his shoulder blade. For me, he closes up at his knee and front pastern. He's a smaller footed option of that pair. For me, he's probably not as fluid in terms of how he handles his back leg. Just wants to be a little more rigid. He's got the right kind of joint angle down low, but for me, he reaches a little further underneath him, doesn't get his hock far enough behind his tail comparative to our class winner. Certainly need to change him just in terms of bone work up front, but a good one as well comes there in class. Young lady brings a third to us, and one that's wide underneath, one that's really stout, and one that's a little overdone from a condition standpoint. Carries more pushing back from his jaw to his neck. Carries more in terms of the crest, less descript in terms of back shape. You get right in behind him, no doubt he's giving up some power as he drives right away from you. We've just got to make him stouter and denser in terms of the seat of his pants. He's carrying a little more waist and a little more condition in the lower third of his body. Chester Bear comes out next, and I like that hog from an elevation standpoint, one that's pretty proportional from the side. Need to make him stouter at the surface. He's got to reach and go just a bit better, particularly out of his front end. But a nice hog there as well. Got some back shape. Get right in behind him, not as dense and descript in his muscle as we want to see comparative to those that come out. Highest cutability hog in the class, no doubt. Really, really extended, really opened up when he comes to you. Young lady's red spotted one comes next in class. One for me that's too rigid at both ends of his skeleton. He's upright in his shoulder and his knee. He's tight in terms of his hock and pastern. He wants to reach and go. He's got a good gear, and I like that. She drives him well. He moves at the right pace. If we can limber that one up, that one wins our class. We just have to set his shoulder angle back. We have to soften him in terms of how he hits the surface. Let's put our hands together for all those kids on a nice class.
Thank you, Glenn. Results of class number 4. In first place, Spencer Broughton. Second, Landon Thomas. Third place, Elizabeth Quick. In fourth, Catherine Albright. And in fifth place, Kendall Tetrick. After this class, we will need the first and seconds from class 3 and 4. Class 3 will need Riley Gregg and Kendall Vandevort. Class 4, Landon Thomas and Spencer Broughton. Western Ranch Supply, serving the big country with the quality and service you can trust. Stop into their West End store, located just off the Shiloh exit. A complete farm and ranch store from vet supplies to show supplies, or fencing to livestock equipment, saddles and tack, and a large clothing department. Thanks to Rob Erickson, Keith Robinson, and myself, stores in Billings and Great Falls. Rocky Mountain Compost. They continue to support the NILE. Again this year, they have supplied all of our livestock bedding. Rocky Mountain Compost can supply all your livestock bedding too. They deliver to 7 states.
Well, young man in the red shirt with chromed up gilt has our class winner here, and I think happy with that one, just in terms of range of motion from the side, in terms of look up through her neck and head, and in one that blends smoothly, bigger caged, if you will, in terms of her cage in front of her, behind her blade, excuse me, and one that you just have to appreciate for flexibility you get on the side of her of that top trio. She reaches and goes better than the rest. She has a monster back leg. It's all the way at the edge of her body, and yet it still stays hooked in. It's square. Now, if we want to complain about her just a nickel, hey, I'd like to roll her up with just a bit more back shape. And I think comparative to both 2 and 3, that's really where we need to change her. You know, if you want to see more back shape in one, that's fine. I love her function that much more, and we're going to give up a little back shape to get one that's built that good. Young lady comes to with the black gilt out here in class, one that gets a little flatter in her forehead, a little cresty at her neck, one that, again, she's second and beats 3 because of her body type. She's cagier. She's softer in her center. She's more opened up in her forerib. For me, she just reaches, goes, drives, and pushes better off her rear, too. I think she's logically where she needs to be there in second. She does get a little bit outside in terms of her hock, just a bit, and I'd like to secure it back into her a nickel and then just change the way she looks at the crest of her neck and her forehead, but an awful nice one there that comes second. Young lady's blue that comes out 3, boy, tall-shouldered, square up front, one that you really like in terms of height. The shoulder, you start analyzing back leg structure and hip structure, shortens the hip, rounds the hip just a bit, wants to reach to the edge, and just not as fluid in terms of our movement. In terms of cage, that one just gets a little flatter. That's one reason he's got the great big square back in him. He's flatter in terms of his forerib. He's tighter and less dimensional in his lower rib cage as you read him right behind his elbow. But a nice one there, and congratulations to you. Certainly deserves to be 3 in my mind. Bring the black one, sock-legged one out next, and one that gets a little narrower, a little frailer, if you will, comparative to the trio ahead. One that's not as good in terms of natural width and spread. Certainly doesn't handle her back leg. Doesn't have quite the back shape that we'd like to see. Nonetheless, that one is sounder off the rear, too. Does take a bigger step than the young ladies that's coming out 5th in class. This one is extra wide, extra dense, and has the right kind of look standing still. Unfortunately, we set that in motion. She's just too short-strided, reaches outside of her skeleton. We could change that. We certainly get that one moved up. I like the body type, like the natural spread, like the shape and freshness we see in that one. Just not good enough going away. Let's congratulate all those kids on a good class.
Thank you, Glenn. Results of class number 5. In first place, Jacob Choma. Second, Jaylyn Bjorg. Third, Shelby Fenema. Fourth, Caitlin Frost. And in 5th place, McKenna Knott. We'll now select your champion and reserve champion middleweight.
Well, a good trio out here come out of those individual classes that won the first class in this division. Young lady's gilt there is one that you really appreciate just from a density standpoint, one that's incredible in terms of back shape and comes to us in relation to framework, no doubt. I think the biggest legged out here. Love the back shape in that one, and the mobility keeps that hawk inside and secure and just reaches and goes. We could freshen her up where she blends her hip loin together. We could elevate her just a bit at the point of her shoulder. Barra, the young man's driving one that's tall-shouldered and stout, one that's rugged, got the right kind of hair and show ring presence here, presented very nicely. Get right in behind that one. As I told you, he's not quite as secure in his hawk placement, not quite as dense in terms of his bone work comparative, but a nice one there. Just talked about the big gilt, the chromed up one. Like the spread, like the width of that one as she comes to me, extremely square, elevated, nice looking, one that's really fresh, not as shaped up in terms of back shape as the other two out here, but I think certainly fits in terms of how you read them and at their build, their flexibility, their balance, proportion, and look from the side. One I like the best, that big one. Let's congratulate that young man. Bring that second out. The black gilt comes out of that class. Similar in type and kind. For me, not quite as strong in terms of pasterns as our class winner there, and doesn't handle her hawk as well as another one out here. The one I like second best be the young ladies across the ring. Let's congratulate her. That's your reserve.
Your grand champion of the middleweight division goes to Jacob Choma from Etna, Wyoming, and reserve champion Riley Gregg, Athol, Idaho. We're on to class number 6, our first heat of heavyweights. Heidi Hutchison, Nevaeh Ruprecht, Holden Salivar, Sam Dewey, Cruz Knopp, Rion Allred, Davy Frost, Julia Gillette, Natalie Delcamp, Charles Drake, and Avery Deeds. Opportunity Bank knows there's value in a trusted banking relationship. They've got the products and people to support you, your family, and your business. Opportunity Bank of Montana. Show Fresh H2O is a solution to your livestock water drinking needs. By eliminating the chlorine in the water, it gets rid of the foul taste and smell that causes your animal to not drink. Hydration is a key to success. From the barn to the show ring, Show Fresh H2O has helped exhibitors perform at the top level, bringing home countless championship banners from coast to coast and border to border. Show Fresh H2O is the most affordable and effective tool in your show box. Les Schwab is a proud sponsor of the Northern International Livestock Exposition. Safety starts at Les Schwab, including tires, wheels, batteries, brakes, steering, alignment, and more at leschwab.com.
Well, in this particular class, I don't think there was ever a question in my mind what was winning. Young boy in the green shirt has the one that suits the best out here, the most flexible, the right kind of proportion, the right kind of look up front. Big ditch in that one's back, and we want to pick on her a minute. Let's make her bigger footed. Let's make her just a bit stouter at the surface, but that's an awful nice one, and how she's built and designed, like that one quite a bit. I think she's just so much more practical and useful in terms of her rib cage, in terms of her softness of skeleton, in terms of the way she hooks up and moves and goes when you drop right in behind her comparative to the 1 and 2. Young man's in 2's awful good looking, tall shouldered, a little bigger footed. She swivels a bit in her upper hip. I just want to change her and make her a little more pliable in the way she handles that rear foot. I want to make her reach and go just a bit better. She just wants to swivel it ever so slightly as she goes. She's a little harder in terms of her forerib, not as soft-centered, not as soft in terms of her spine, not as fresh if you look at her, but an awful nice one there. She's a good place to be, too. I think she is so much more elevated and neater up front than the blue one that comes next in class. This one is short-backed and dense and wide, but lower set in her shoulder, a little crestier in terms of her neck, get right in behind her. She too wants to reach outside and kind of stab them. For me, I'd like for her just to be more fluid in her movement. You clean her up right there as she comes out of her chest into her jawline, make her a little more youthful comparative to 2 and 3. I think that would certainly help my mindset. Just have to change her back leg, make her more extended blade forward, make her a little more youthful comparative. Another one I like from the side, and particularly standing still, is a young man in a green shirt. I like that one quite a bit from hip forward. From the hip back, we get rounder hip, shorter in our hip. You can see she's more rigid in terms of her hock. Wants to stab them outside and twist just a bit more lateral deviation than we need. If that one hooks up, I'm just going to tell you, if this one hooks up right in terms of her back leg, that one's going to win our class, because I love the front 3/4 of that one. I love her added elevation. They have done an awesome job at rolling up a back in that one. Love the big hip and pin set. Just got to fix that back leg, and we can do that. That one is a big timer, in my opinion. We come out next with one that gets a little lower, a little crestier, a little more mature comparatively. He gets in at his knee, he twists in at his front feet. He too wants to swivel back and forth, shortens up in his hip. One that doesn't get out and go off his rear too, as we'd like to see, just shorter hipped and rounder hipped, a little shorter up through his face, through his neck as well. And then we bring out one that gets a little cresty, a little thick, a little old in terms of her look. We have to have that one just more youthful. Big back rolled up in that one, lots of product. Just have to make that one more functional off of both ends of her skeleton. Let's put our hands together for those kids on a good class.
Thank you, Glenn. Results of class number 6. In first, Cruz Knopp. Second, Holden Salivar. Third, Heidi Hutchison. Fourth, Avery Deeds. And in fifth place, Nevaeh Ruprecht. We'll now have class 7 entering the ring. Baylor Reedy, Natalie Delkamp, Braxton Walker, Wyatt Gorzalka, Reese Reinhart, Wyatt Dewey, Stockton Wade, Aubrey Delkamp, and Quinn Logan. The NILE Stock Show is brought to you by the flagship station of the Northern Ag Network, home of award-winning farm broadcasters like Taylor Brown, Coulter Brown, Andy Schwab, and Brett McCrae, AM 790 KGHL and 94.7 FM. Tri-State Livestock News is a leading livestock publication in the upper Midwest, over 60 years strong. Published every Saturday, Tri-State Livestock News provides timely agribusiness news, rodeo updates, livestock market reports, and community event coverage in a 9-state region. Visit us online at tsln.com. Thanks to Clock Tower Inn as one of our NILE host hotels, located in the heart of downtown Billings and connected to Stella's Bakery. Other exceptional hotels that support NILE: Northern Hotel, Residence Inn by Marriott, Billings Hotel and Convention Center, the Doubletree by Hilton, Montana Trailhead Inn, Kelly Inn, and Town Place Suites.
Well, challenging class, interesting class, and lots of give and takes and trade-offs. We need to get the one that leads off young lady's bear out of his gear. He needs to get a better a running gear, just one that can make him go faster. I genuinely like his joint angles, his build, and his foot size at the surface a bit better than the rest. I like the fact that he's wide and stout underneath and proportional. He doesn't have much energy out here, and really we need to change that. Part of that comes from the fact that he's carrying so much middle. We could have shown him a couple classes ago if we'd have tucked on him just a bit. I think he would have had a lot more to him, but that's a nice hog. Big, stout-footed, rugged, wide, got the right kind of shape, just has to get another running gear. Young lady comes to in class, polar opposite end of the spectrum in terms of framework and length of spine. This one's bigger, more extended, more elevated. This one does the knuckle job in back. We just want to, he doesn't want to set down in her pasterns, doesn't want to reach and go the way she needs to. Big shape up high, one that's got a great big pin set, doesn't hook up as smooth in our hip joint as we need to, not as fresh in our body cavity as we need to be. But I think logically, if you start talking about carcass merit composition, pin set, flexibility, elevation comparative to the rest, I think we land on that one in second, and she deserves to be there. Black one comes out 3 in class. That's the narrowest of the top 5 here. We need to open her up. We need to pull her apart. The reason she is sounder and more flexible, if you will, from the side is that she's the narrowest, and she carries the smallest amount of shape and cage and muscularity. And typically when you do that, frankly, you make them where they can go a bit better. Get right in behind her. She gives up all the muscle shape to the rest of them out here, and she certainly wants to bow her hawk just a bit. Got a noisy one here in 4, one that's really shaped up, wide underneath, gets really frail at the surface comparative to the top side of her skeleton. You watch her move her back leg. She just wants to crouch around. She ducks her pin set. We have to make her reach and go a bit better. I'd like to encourage you to do a little different job in terms of how you clip one here. That one's just bared out right up the strip, the crack of her ham, and right down her back. That one clipped out would look a lot better. Her feet are a little long. She's a little softer footed. She's out here because she's wide, stout, dense, muscular, still has the right kind of look from the side up through her front end. Just have to make her go a bit better. She's kind of timid, a little sore in terms of her feet. Let's put our hands together for all the kids in that class.
Thank you, Glenn. Results of class number 7. In first place, Natalie Delkamp. Second, Quinn Logan. Third, Wyatt Dewey. Fourth, Baylor Reedy. And in 5th place, Stockton Wade. We'll now have our last class of heavyweights, class 8, entering the show ring. Braxton Walker, Kember Reinhardt, Presley Johnson, Blake Vogel, Reese West, Presley Johnson, Easton Albrecht, Jessica Stark, Jalen Bjorg, and Maya Jensen. We'll need first and seconds from Class 6 and 7. Class 6, Cruz Knopp, Holden Salvar. Class 7, Natalie Delkamp and Quinn Logan.
Well, the belted one leads off our class here, and frankly, I'll just be honest with you. I was really thankful when that came out of the gate. They're fashionably late, I would say. That's the one that suits the best just in terms of flexibility and mobility, and you don't even have to apologize here with that one for maturity pattern or for added body weight or anything else. That one can flat go. Big enough to weigh, big enough to play, in my opinion. Good fronted, square built, very fresh, very good and youthful in terms of how that one is built up front. I like that one quite a bit. Could be a little bigger footed in relation to some that weigh that size in a world of hogs, but an awful nice one there to lead off. Blue one comes two in class. She needs a little more range of motion out of her rear too. I'd like to change her just in her neck set and the shape of her head and her skull if you get right down to it. For me, she's got to catch another gear. I'd like for that one to just be more mobile and limber at both ends of her skeleton. We can do that one, and that pair becomes a little tougher for me. She is drier centered. She's harder in her forerib and body. She's not as fresh in the center of her body, not as fresh there where her loin hooks up to her hand, but a nice one there, and I think rightfully so deserves to be two. A young man gets all he can out of this one. I want to change his back leg and be the first to tell you if I could do that, I'd like that one quite a bit. He is a little more mature up front, if you will. He is tall-shouldered. He runs good from the side. Get right in behind him. That thing wants to shove his hock. He doesn't show us the back shape or the muscle expression that we see in those two that come in front of him, but an awful nice one, and that kid flat gets it done right there. Sure appreciate his willingness to get down and get that one presented properly. Young man comes out in four, pink shirt, long belted, kind of a gilt. That one's pretty good from her shoulder blade back, just in terms of center body and mobility and flexibility. She's a little smaller footed. She gets lower set in her neck and her shoulders. She's thicker and crestier in her neck. She's not as dynamic looking. Genuinely, that's a pretty good market hog. I just want to change her front end assembly, if you will. Next one to come out, one that's presented very well. A big kind of a tall-shouldered deal. Frankly, difficult to look at. That thing's a runner. I told the girl try to get on her head and get her shut down just a bit here. We've got to make the bottom match the top here. Big topside shape, not near enough foot size. That one has to be much stouter and denser in terms of bone work. If we can do that, pull her hock in and make her just a bit more secure, we can get that one up as well. Black one rounds out our class. Young lady showed her way into that position. She worked her tail off. Big-footed kind of hog, too rigid, not mobile enough, too upright in the shoulder blade knee. Hock doesn't set square enough under him. Good stock out here. Congratulate those kids in this last class.
Thank you, Glenn. Results of class number 8 in first place, Maya Jensen. Second, Jaylyn Bjorg. Third, Reese West. Fourth, Blake Vogel. And in fifth place, Kember Reinhardt. We'll now select your champion and reserve champion heavyweight.
Put your hands together for these kids that come back out in this heavyweight division. A good stock out here, and frankly, they're built pretty good at the surface. They balance and proportion well. A couple more mobile than the other for sure, but I think they come out of their respective classes, and certainly a trio that deserve to win each of those classes. For me, there's one that's just a little fresher in terms of back shape, one that's a little bolder where she hooks her loin edge back into her hip. In relation to frame size and maturity, comes to us wider, stouter, more shapely, right down her top, more shapely going away. Congratulate that young man in the green shirt. He's got our champion. Well, we bring that second back out, really tall-shouldered, sharp-backed one. Told you I like that one quite a bit from the side, right in behind her. She wants to hinge and swivel just a little awkwardly off her rear tube, but one that comes out, and I think certainly in contention. Talk about that heavy we just had out, really sound and flexible. One that's a little plainer in terms of shape, probably comparative. One that is a bit agitated here, but just in body type and kind, real soft-centered level in terms of her spine and her hip. Then we had the young lady's bear, monster legs and really wide and dense, one that's proportional, carrying a little too much center and just doesn't have enough road gear. So it comes down to that second that comes out and our heavy. I think the one that suits me the best just from market hog look and presence is going to be that second out of that same class. Let's congratulate him.
Your grand champion heavyweight hog goes to Cruz Knopp from Athol, Idaho. Reserve champion Holden Salivar, Bainville, Montana. We'll now select our grand and reserve champion overall. We're going to hold up for 5 minutes. The judge has to go take care of some business. He'll be back in 5. So to the holding pens, we'll need Hagen Tippett out of the lightweight division, Heidi Hutchison from the lightweight division. We'll need Riley Gregg from the middleweight division, and Jacob Choma. We'll also need from the heavyweight division, Cruz Knopp and Holden Salivar. After the selection of our grand and reserve, we'll move right into senior showmanship. We've got 2 heats. In the first heats, Shelby Fenema, Caitlin Frost, Bella Herrera, Hayden Johnson, Jaron Knopp, Quinn Logan, Elizabeth Quick, Paul Shaner, Landon Thomas, and Stockton Wade. Kimber Reinhardt? Yeah. Scratched? Yep. Okay. All right. A champion reminder today, reserve champion winners, please remember to visit the livestock office in the expo to pick up your jackets. Special thanks to Dalio Western Wear for embroidering these special awards. If you plan to sell an animal in the Junior Fed sale tomorrow night, please be sure to complete the yellow sale nomination form stating which animal you wish to sell and submit at the livestock office in the expo. Reminder, grand and reserve market animals are required to sell. The deadline to submit your forms is this afternoon at 4 o'clock. All non-sale animals and tack are to be moved out of the Montana Pavilion by 6 p.m. on Monday, October 16th, no exceptions.
Well, if you will, congratulate these three young men here. Come back into your champion drive out of their respective divisions. It's been a good show. It's not been big in numbers, but high quality stock. If you don't like these, you probably don't like stock that I like, and that's okay. Everybody can pick their kind, and I think that's what makes the world go round. For me, they have to be sound and mobile. They need to be functional. They need to be good in their build, their look. They need to be square. The bigger we can make the surface, the better it is. We like the bottom and the top to match as much as we can, and I think we've got a really nice trio out here. young man here out of the first class with chromed up first division with chromed up barra. That one won that division. He's mobile, he's flexible, he's tall-shouldered. He's good in terms of his look and his build. Hey, he's a little shorter and rounder at his hip. Probably not perfect as the way he handles his rear too, and certainly I'd say not as bulky in his center, but he shouldn't be. He's not as mature. Nice pig there comes out of that division. Young man comes out of the middle division there with the big chrome gilt across the ring, and one that you have to appreciate for the mass at the surface and the squareness that one has. Coming and going, big featured in that one. Still really good looking, extremely mobile. That one's got an incredible hip and pin set, and then carries that to her stifle, hock, and pastern, extremely square. If I could pick on her, I'd just like to shape her up in the center of her top just a little bit more, but an awful good one. Love the cage, love the set and the movement of that one. And then we just talked about the heavyweight. Young man here has an awful good one just in terms of build and flexibility, ability to go and move. Very fresh backed, very big and ditchy in terms of back shape, comparative to at least another out here. Maybe not as big in terms of pin set, not quite as big in terms of running gear and feet and legs, but an awful good one as well. Once again, put your hands together, congratulate them. I'll show you the one I like best. Bring that reserve out, another big footed one. It's a little flatter up front, a little more challenge in terms of elevation there at the point of her shoulder. One that dries out just a nickel more in terms of her ham loin hookup. Second best one here today for May's young man in green. Let's congratulate him.
Your grand champion hog of the 2023 NILE Hog Show goes to Jacob Choma, Etna, Wyoming. Reserve overall goes to Krusnop, Athol, Idaho. Now if we could get the first heat of senior showmen to the holding pens, please. Shelby Fenema, Caitlin Frost, Bella Herrera, Hayden Johnson, Jaron Knopp, Quinn Logan, Elizabeth Quick, Paul Shaner, Landon Thomas, and Stockton Wade. We will do champion and reserve champion pictures after showmanship is over.
Just to lay a little groundwork for your showmanship, what we'll do is bring each heat in. I'll get the ones that hit me. I'll pull them back, and those will be finalists that come back in your final group. I think we have seniors, juniors, and beginners. That's how we do that. That's how we've done it. And so I'm just going to tell you, it's everybody's got a clean slate. Didn't matter how you showed earlier, good or bad, doesn't make any difference. This is clean slate. Showmanship, I don't give you a lot of time to do things right, and you don't have any time to do things wrong. So I will just I'll grab the ones I like. I'm sure you'll have your favorites. I probably won't have some of those on my list. That'll be just fine. I'll get them back, and we'll pull them back in as a set of finalists. I'm not pulling a particular number out of any heat. If there's two good ones, there's two coming back. If there's six good ones, there's six coming back. That's how I like to do that, because if you just start counting numbers, then you leave good showmen at the back, and they don't get to come back out. So that's what we'll do, just to explain it, if you will, as we go through these heats. Once we excuse a group, you put your hands together for them. We're all pulling for them, and I get that, but that's how I like to do it. We'll go through these seniors that way, and then we'll get those finalists back out and get you a champion. Thank you. Well, I've got a set over here that I pulled back. I think three of them. I liked what they did when they came out and the way they got their pig mood back around. I'm not going to give away any heads up, but am going to make a few comments. We just have to keep hogs moving. Got to keep them at a proper pace. Got to keep them in the line of sight, not too close and not too far away. Those are the basics of it, and I think these that I got pinned back did just a better job of that. Let's congratulate all these kids. Put your hands together for them. We'll excuse those that are in the ring.
Entering the ring in the second heat of senior showman's Riley Gregg, Maya Jensen, Presley Johnson, McKenna Knott, Elizabeth Moki, Coys Reedy, Jessica Stark, and Kendall Vandevort.
Well, we get that last one stuck back in a pin. I think those are the ones for me that probably, when they come back out here, did the best job of proper pace, did the best job of keeping them moving when they come out the gate, and having that pace and driving them across the ring. Less start and stop on the turns in terms of transition. I just like a more consistent movement. Awful nice job from these kiddos that are out here. Let's put our hands together for them as excuse them from the ring.
Competing for the champion senior showman this morning will be Bella Herrera, Jaron Knopp, and Landon Thomas from the first heat. And from the second heat, Riley Gregg, Maya Jensen, and Kendall Vandevort.
Well, it's a great set we have out here. There's no doubt about it. Let's put our hands together for all these finalists that made it back. I'm really proud of them. I'm proud of their efforts. I'm proud of the effort that they gave in the ring. I'm proud of what they've done to work to get to this level in terms of their skill set. And with that being said, there's still some minor differences in my opinion. Some of it deals with timing just in terms of how they turn at one corner or another. Some of it deals with basically amount of time they spend unnecessarily at a point or at a turn, or maybe the distance that they get outside of my line of fire. Sometimes it's just a little standstill and a little bit of a head down and some of those kinds of things that separate these. For me, I think there's one that's done it just to a little better, higher degree, a little more extreme, if you will, one that I think is just more consistent at everything that he particularly does. Help me congratulate the young man in the gray sweater directly across the ring. That's your champion. It's really tight here. I thought it was tight for winning. I think every one of these has won this at a given point in time. I think really there's a couple and maybe even three that are just maybe a little smoother, a little more in my line of sight, probably have a little less stop and start. Gets pretty tight for me here, talking through while my mind's working on who I'm going to use and select. I think probably the one that suits me second best just in terms of being in the line of fire, more direct and in working through transition. Probably isn't showing the easiest or the most automatic hog in the game out here. Young lady in a black shirt will be reserved.
Your grand champion showman goes to Landon Thomas from Benjamin, Utah. Reserve, Kendall Vandevort, Billings, Montana. In the first heat of junior showman, we need Easton Albrecht, Courtney Andrus, Spencer Broughton, Avery Deeds, Annette Drake, Wyatt Dewey, Wyatt Gorzalka, Heidi Hutchison, Dally Joe Pearson, Peyton Ramza, Grace Sedlacek, Blake Vogel, and Sophia Zentner. Second heat of juniors can start making your way to the holding pens. Catherine Albright, Jaylyn Bjorg, Amber Choma, Natalie Delkamp, Charles Drake, Kaylee Eider, Ella Hiller, Cruz Knopp, Baylor Reedy, Nevea Ruprecht, Hudson Sharp, and Braxton Walker.
Well, good showmen that we have left out here, absolutely, and each one of them deserves to have a pin at some point in time, and yet I think I've got the ones that have suited me the best just in terms of staying in my line of sight, moving proper pace. This young lady does a great job, but she gets too far out of sight for me. Young lady right there in the leather jacket with the calico does a really good job. Lets that thing look down too much. At times we don't really get our head set and carriage where we need it. Some of these boys here in the middle probably do a little too much start and stop. But this young man here does a great job, but when we get to a certain point, he lets that thing slow down and kind of hitch and stop and just take a little bit of time. So those are some of the things I see. Keep working hard. I appreciate your effort here. I got the ones that I'm going to keep back out of this particular heat. Let's put our hands together and congratulate these kids. I'll shake each one of their hands.
Thank you, Glenn. Coming back out of heat number 1, Avery Deeds, Wyatt Dewey, Heidi Hutchison, Dally Jo Pearson, and Sophia Zentner.
We're going to release these finalists out of this first heat, and we'll see them back when we get to our finals. Y'all go ahead and take them out. Take them out. Yep.
The third heat of juniors can start making your way to the holding pens. Rian Allred, Tilden Botts, Jacob Choma, Tyler Dixon, Sam Dewey, Julia Gillette, Grady Hiller, Colt McLean, Holden Salivar, Tessa Townsend, and Reese West.
Well, I got four back out of here. I think just as a whole, kids that have the right, pretty decent mechanism. We've got heads up and making some passes. I think we have enough consistent pace in how we move. We let them stop and look down a little too much for me. I think we're just too average in the pace that we want to drive here in the ring. Let's put our hands together for all these we're going to excuse, and for those finalists that get to come back out of here. Well, like I said, I felt like come out a little more prepared, gave me a little better look up front, and stayed in line of sight just a bit better. Young man across the ring, he drew one out, you know, and sometimes you get the horse that runs, son, and that's what yours did, but you've done a nice job of getting back into position. We don't have our head cranked up high enough for me. Young man here, when we come out, we got to keep that one moving, can't let them stop and start, as with the rest. I want you to get them lined out when they come out and get them driving. Take them straight away, and let's give the judge an opportunity. And then once you're out a little distance, let's make our turn. I think we're doing too much crossover at times when we don't need to. Let's put our hands together for all these kids. I'll congratulate them. You do the same.
Thank you, Glenn. Making it back out of heat number 2 is Ella Hiller, Cruz Knopp, Baylor Reedy, and Braxton Walker. And out of heat 3, Jacob Choma, Grady Hiller, Holden Salivar, and Reese West. So in the ring for your junior showmanship for the champion and reserve champion will be Avery Deeds, Wyatt Dewey, Heidi Hutchison, Dally Joe Pearson, Sophia Zentner, Ella Hiller, Cruz Knopp, Baylor Reedy, Braxton Walker, Jacob Choma, Grady Hiller, Holden Salivar, and Reese West.
All right, it's going to be a small ring, lots of kids, lots of pigs, lots of traffic. Depending on how it all works and how it hits me, I may pin back a set of finalists out of these finals and excuse the rest and drive those for a second and then pick a champ and reserve. May just pick from the whole pile. I'll let you know when we get to that point. Congratulations to all of you that come out here in your finals. Well, a great set of juniors out here. Put your hands together for all of them that came back out of their respective heats. Great set of finalists out here. You might ask the question, how could a guy be done so quickly with so many good ones? Well, there is absolutely one that I think is a complete rock star. In my opinion, in terms of showmanship today out of this set, and this is not taking anything away from the rest of you, but there's one that just holds the keys to the castle, and they do the best job at every spot. They know where they're supposed to be. Their transitions are seamless. They work the best around the back end of their hog instead of crossing the front. They know when I want them close. They know when they need to be dragging back and hanging out. They find their crease. They make a move. There is no hesitation. This kid is absolutely lights out. Young man right there, he wins. Now, I'm going to tell you, it gets closer for me, and I think there's 3 or 4 of you young people that have done just a great job all day today. I feel like probably there's one more that has been just a little better in terms of transition. I don't know that he's been showing the easiest one to show, and sometimes, frankly, people are like, well, my kid, they never moved, or my kid, their calf never moved, or their pig never. Well, it doesn't take as much skill to show one that's that broke. What I look for is, hey, who handles adversity the best? Who does the nicest job with a different variety of stock? And who would I want showing for my kid if she couldn't make it in the ring? The one that suits me second best is that young man. Let's congratulate him. Awesome job, kids. All of you are winners out here in my mind. Y'all congratulate them too as they get back to the pens.
Your grand champion junior showman goes to Cruz Knopp from Mathel, Idaho. Reserve champion Reese West, Cheyenne, Wyoming. We'll now call the first heat of beginner showman to the holding pens. Layla Deeds, Tryon Goss, Brady McKinney, Cooper Rose Pearson, Hudson Schmidt, Colton Shepard, Case Stayer, and Hagen Tippett.
Well, I grabbed 3 finalists out of here. Let's put our hands together for all these kids. I'll give you a little what I'd like to see different, what I think they're doing well. Young lady here does a nice job of keeping the head up. We just need to keep a more consistent pace. That one wants to start and stop a little bit. A young man here, boy, he's always in position. I really appreciate his effort. I like the fact he's got his brush. He knows what he's supposed to be doing. We got to get that one's head up comparative to the trio that we have out, but he's doing a heck of a job. We got one over here that's got a tag team partner that has not tagged in yet, and he's hustling up, doing a very nice job. Pig just doesn't want to work with him today, wanting to go back to the pen, which happens sometimes. So let's put our hands together for these. Got a trio of finalists coming back. I really appreciate the effort that these young people put in. Okay, I grabbed a few out of there I felt like deserved to come back. All these kids are putting forth the effort. Let's put our hands together for them. Visit with you about them just a second. Young lady here with the blue back bear, nice job, Gil. Nice job of keeping the head up. Let's that one stop and start too much. Young lady here got one that wants to look down more than he wants to look up. We need to work on our transition and make sure we start that one with our head up, moving at a constant pace. Got one here, same thing. Pig likes to look down just a little more than we care for. Got one over there, tag team partner, hadn't tagged in yet today. That one's just trying to run and fighting the young man on the whip, but he's working awful hard. Once again, congrats to all these kids. Encourage them when they get back to the pens, and we'll pull our finalists back out here.
Coming back out of heat number 2 is Aubrey Kraft, Reese Reinhardt, and Kendall Tetrick. In the show ring for your beginner showman championship will be Layla Deeds, Cooper Rose Pearson, Hagen Tippett, Aubrey Kraft, Reese Reinhardt, and Kendall Tetrick.
Well, a really good set of beginner showmen out here. I think each and every one of them really deserves to be here, and they're doing a really nice job. Just some variations in how they cross over, variations in the pace they keep, variations in where they fit and where they sit. I think one or two are just probably doing a neater job at staying the right distance, keeping the animal looking the best, and keeping the head set where they need to, staying not right underneath me, not too far away, just working in transition, making a little more consistent pace, if you will, out here. I think there's a couple that are just doing that. Help me congratulate the young lady here. She'll be your champion showman. Tightens up here for me. I think there's another one that probably has just been a little more consistent throughout in terms of keeping that thing, driving, keeping that thing in the right position. Congratulate this young man. He'll be reserved.
Your grand champion beginner showman goes to Kendall Tetrick, Pomeroy, Washington. Reserve champion Hagen Tippett, Colton, Washington. That concludes our hog show this morning. Thank you, Glenn Martin.